Thank you so much for checking out Tea and a Butty on YouTube. For exclusive content, please consider becoming a patron. Details are in the link of this video's description, and please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Hello, and welcome to the Tea and a Butty podcast. I'm Dominic.
And I'm Erica.
Today's episode, we're going to be talking about field trips we took in school.
Yes.
Yeah, it's going to be very exciting. You're going to like it. Oh, yes, you are. We've talked a little bit about our field trips before, I think, just like in the school series and stuff, I think, didn't we?
I don't know that we did.
Maybe we didn't. Maybe maybe we just talked about talking about them, but we didn't actually record it. So we're recording it now.
Yeah.
For all you people out there.
We figured there would probably be enough that we could make a whole episode about.
Yeah, it's 30 minutes of us just talking, waffling.
But as I sit here, school was a long time ago. So,
school was a long time ago, yeah.
Yeah, but it's going to be interesting because I don't know that you and I have really talked that much about field trips that we took in school, so I'm curious to hear where you went because I don't know.
The majority I remember going on were in primary school. For some reason, a lot of people remember their secondary, high school years.
Yeah.
And what they did there. For me, and they don't remember their primary school, like elementary school. Years, but for me it's like the opposite. I can remember a lot of what we did back in primary school,
Yeah. No.
For me, and it seems like we were going on endless trips because I lived in I guess it's a city, I don't know. It was called Torbay. It was this town in Devon called Torquay, and it was in this like bay area, Torbay, which comprised Payton and Brixham, and it was like a holiday destination for a lot of people in Britain in the Victorian era. So as such,
way back when you were in school,
way back when I was in school in the Victorian era, Queen Victoria was still alive, and it was just so there's a lot of like Victorian heritage stuff there. They tried to preserve it, even though it kind of fell out of favour when trips to the continent became cheaper and everything. So they still had this kind of like Victorian aspect to their thing, So a lot of my trips were like to Victorian themed places, or places that were were there in Victorian times, and I just remember it, It's just like my childhood had a very Victorian theme to it.
I don't really remember that many field trips from when I was in elementary school. As I've mentioned on this podcast before, I went to elementary school in the Texas Panhandle.
Oh, right. So, yeah.
In a small town. So maybe that's why there just genuinely weren't that many places.
There was nowhere to go for you, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, do you want to start, or do you want me to start? Or...
I can start, I guess. I can talk about my experiences.
Yeah, why don't you talk about some places you can remember from, like, elementary school first? It's funny enough, we weren't just going there on a field trip. We were going there on, like, I remember my parents taking me there, too. There's this place called Bygones. And it's, like, 3 floors of pure nostalgia for all the family. Yeah.
And, I think the first floor is just in, like, a life-size Victorian street.
Okay.
And they've mocked it up with, like, shops and everything, and all the, so much detail went into it. And I thought it had closed years ago, but apparently it's still going, because I looked it up.
Oh my God, I want to go there.
Yeah, you would love it. You would absolutely love it, because I remember we went on a school trip there, and then, like, and then I told my parents, and I think I remember telling my parents, they were like, oh yeah, we should go there. Next weekend, let's go there.
Oh, that sounds cute.
That sounds cute. Let's go there. Because my parents moved to Torquay a couple of years before I was born, so they hadn't really gone out, and they were working, and they hadn't really gone out and explored Torquay that much.
Right, yeah.
So when I was a kid, they were like, oh yeah, we've been putting that off for years now. Let's go and do that with Dominic,
Yeah.
And so that's probably why it sticks out in my mind so much. I was like, always go in there, Bygones, And, it's like life-size cobblestone Victorian street with everything, and they had mannequins. And remember they had like a Queen Victoria and like a Queen Victoria
Queen
mannequin.
Victoria everywhere in Britain.
And they had a guardsman behind it. So just to say,
Queen
this is Queen
Victoria.
Victoria. And they have like this, like mannequins, like, Victorian mannequins, and they have like audio playing, like chestnuts, get your chestnuts, like, you can press things, and, it's good for kids and all the family. You can look in little shops.
Yeah.
And then you go into like what it was like back then, like there'd be like a sweet shop, and there'd be like and then there'd be like an apothecary.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, you look unwell today. Here, would you like to try one of my potions? It was very, like, if you're going in there as a kid, it's very creepy. I remember it was a lot of people on my school trip were like, oh, those mannequins, oh, they look really creepy. And, and then there was like this World War I trench you have to go through, which was like mocked up with all the like, and, it was very dark. And then it would be like, oh, there's a figure of someone in there, and you'd press a light or something and it'd come on. It would be like someone with like no hand or whatever, it was very shocking for a kid.
God.
But then you go up like and there was that, and then they have this like little model like train set.
Yeah.
Which was like, when I was a kid, that was like, oh yes, I want that train. I want that whole train set. It was going through, and it had Thomas the Tank and everything, and I was like, oh, this is great. And I think the third floor was like 50s and 60s.
Oh, yeah.
It was like a shopping arcade from that. So my parents were like, oh, yeah, remember that? Because I have a clear memory of my mother going, oh, remember that? Oh, yeah, remember that? And this was like early 90s.
Yeah.
So all this stuff had gone by then, and it was like, oh, remember that Daz packages? Oh, I remember you used to get them from, and it was just like, it was really cool.
Yeah.
I liked it, but that's all I can remember that place so well, because it seemed like we always went there, but we probably only went there once, and it just left an imprint on my brain. Another place we went to was the Cold Harbour Mill Working Wool Museum, and I think I've told you about this before. This is why I probably think we've talked about this on the thing, because it was something I told you about,
Yeah. Yeah.
And it was like, there's been a mill there of some description on that site since Saxon times, but it was like, it's been continuously working since like 1797.
Yeah.
And it was like a textile wool mill. And I remember we went in there, and there was like, they have this working like loom from Victorian times, because kids were working there in Victorian times, kids of our age.
How come it's like Britain? Nothing happened in Britain before Victorian times.
Well, I have a feeling it was the Industrial Revolution. Everybody's like, yeah, this is it. Victorian technology is why we do all this. Everything before Victorian times doesn't matter, because, technology,
Yeah.
This is why we have this.
Yeah, yeah.
And I just remember we were all standing there, and the guy was really animated telling us all about this, and, and then he turned it on. It was a racket. It was like this, it was like an actual one,
Yeah.
They like restored and everything. And it was a racket, and everybody was like, oh, it's like, and then he goes, and kids your age, the boys would come here to work in the mill.
Yeah.
And if the machinery got jammed or something, they'd send the factory owner or the mill owner would send one of the kids under there to like unstick it or whatever,
Yeah.
And if he unstuck it and it started going again, he was strawberry jam. And that was kids your age, and I remember like being like, oh, gonna, and I thought, he's not gonna pick someone to go under there, is he now? I was like, oh,
God. Yeah.
But yeah, it was a grade 2 listed building, and, I just remember going there a lot. Again, like with bygones, it's like, I probably only went there once, but it seems like I went there like 100 times,
If you guys don't know what a listed building is, by the way, we did a whole podcast just talking about listed buildings in Britain, so go check that out, and it'll explain more.
There was also like a World War II exhibit. There's always, in these museums, there's always like a World War II exhibit or a World War I thing, It's never just like what it's talking about.
Yeah.
Another place I remember going on a school trip and a trip with my parents was Barbican Model Village.
Oh, yeah. Now this you've definitely
I've told
to me
you.
before.
I've told you about this before, because I think it's someone your gran would have loved, because she likes little things. And you like little things too now, don't you? And it's just like, it's just really cute because it portrays English life and culture over the last 6 decades.
Mm-hmm.
And there's like 400 models of like stately homes and stuff. And I think they've upgraded it since then, you know, since I went there, which was like 30 years ago. Oh, God, I'm old now, you know?
Yeah.
And,
isn't there something that we watched that has like a scene or it's set partially in one of these model villages?
It was
somewhere?
Barbican Model Village. It was that one with Toby Jones. Don't Blame the Driver or something.
God,
it was like a BBC4 thing.
Because I think the concept of the model villages, that's a very British thing. I don't know that we really do that.
Yeah, it's one of the premier model villages in Europe. It's really, really cute. You know, I can just see your grand, if she went there, she would want to live there because it's just so cute. You know, they've got like things like city life, and they all look really like lifelike, but little. You know?
Yeah.
And they've got like 13,000 little miniature people, you know, that live, and they've got like little scenes, and it's just like humorous, and you can it's for kids to interact, and they're set in these like gardens, because they're on the Barbican Downs, which is like a area. It's not an actual area of outstanding natural beauty, but it is an area of outstanding natural beauty. You know,
yeah,
it's not designated, but you know. And it's just like really cute. You know, they've got like the celebrity mansion, see who you can spot, and all that kind of stuff.
Oh yeah.
And you know, like Shakespearean architecture. It's just like, oh God, you know, like the crescent that you see in all these like period dramas.
Yeah.
Like the crescent houses, they've done one of those, and Little People, and you know, it's just really, really cute. You know, walking through there. You know, you could spend like 2 hours there at most, just completely absorbed in it.
Yeah.
If you love little things. And you like little things, don't you?
Yes.
Another one I've put on here is Kent's Cavern.
Okay. Which
is, I think it's a prehistoric cave. Like, human archaeology discovered in that cave is like over 500,000 years old, you know?
Yeah.
And I think it's like they found a 41,000-year-old human jawbone, which is Europe's oldest human fossil in there. That's another place I remember everyone going, and that's like the premier place to go. Have you been to Kent's Cavern? You know, if you live in Tokyo, have you been to Kent's Cavern? It's like the oldest, it's like Neanderthal times. And,
yeah.
You know, so yeah, you'd love all that.
That's all you can remember?
That's pretty much all I can...
Just from when you were in elementary school in Torquay.
Yeah.
You didn't go anywhere in Scotland?
In Scotland, no. No, I don't remember going
Wales?
No, I don't remember.
Scottish people and Welsh people are not allowed
I
field
vaguely
trips.
remember not going on a field trip somewhere. But I think that was just to like Glasgow or something like that. You know, it wasn't anywhere like, you know, it's just to like a museum in Glasgow, maybe the shipbuilding museum or something.
Yeah.
But I remember I missed a boat, or I didn't get up, or I was sick that day or something, you know.
You missed the boat, indeed.
Well, I lived on an island, and you know, you just get you get the ferry across to the mainland of Scotland, you know. Yes, it was very, I don't remember going anywhere in Wales, but when I lived in when I lived in Wales and went to high school there was like school trips to France and stuff like that. Yeah, there was
what?
School trips to France.
But you had to like pay for that.
For all that. Yeah, so I didn't end up going on that stuff because you know, I mean, I couldn't ask my parents to pay for that, you know, or my dad to pay for it, you know. So it was just kind of like, nah, we're not gonna do it, you know.
Yeah. Well, sounds like you had more interesting field trips when you were little than I can remember having.
Yeah, I mean, did you must have had them later on in your school life?
Yeah, well, yeah. So when I was little and I lived in this small town in the Panhandle, I can remember having a field trip to our town museum, which, if you can imagine, just like a
You've
small
been there
Texas
before.
town. I don't know if I had been
there. Like
before.
me with Bygones, you know, it was like something,
no, I don't know, actually, that I had been there before, because I think it was when I was quite little, but I just remember just not being that impressed by it.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, whatever. It's just like your town's kind of history and just not a lot because you're in a little town.
Well, a little town, yeah, I mean, yeah.
And then I can also remember, as you were talking, it was sort of jogging my memory of field trips from when I was little.
Yeah.
We also went to like a nearby town and their town museum. And again, it was just like, yeah, ours was better, I don't even know what this is. Actually, I seem to think...
Because you went to an even smaller town.
Yes.
And so they had a museum about their even smaller town.
Yeah.
And these small towns, and just for, like, reference here, these small towns in, like, the Texas Panhandle, they're not that old. They were, like, made in the 20th century.
The one I lived in was a boom town in the 20s. So
and that's when it was created, wasn't it? Because people moved there because the oil and stuff.
Maybe just at the turn of the 20s. I can't remember the exact date that they, like, discovered oil around the area and everybody moved in and made it a town.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was the 1920s.
Yeah. I mean, you're talking about, like, Victorian...
Yeah.
This stuff, it's Victorian people, nothing ever happened before that.
The 20s, to be fair, at this point is 100 years ago now.
Yeah, it's getting old.
But
it's getting up there in age. It's still a wee thing,
But yeah, another field trip was like to the fire station. It's like the basic.
Now that would have been great for me. You see,
you didn't have any field trips to the fire station?
I don't remember them. Maybe we did. Yeah. Because I was so into like fire engines and Fireman Sam. This was a cartoon when I was a kid, and London's Burning, which was an actual show when I was a kid. I was like obsessed. I think I wanted to become a firefighter when I was a kid. You know, and I was in the fan club and all this kind of stuff. So, and I remember going to see like a Fireman Sam stage show at the Princess Theatre in Torquay.
Yeah.
And, I was just obsessed with it. So I think I definitely would have remembered going to the fire station.
It's like a classic American school field trip when you're like for little kids. You get to tour the fire engine and you get to see the pole that they slide down.
The only time that happened was not a school trip. It was like a fair.
Oh, yeah.
Like a fair was happening in
Torquay.
Torquay.
And a fire truck comes.
Fire engine was there, police car, I got to sit in it.
Yeah.
And I remember there's footage of me, my parents were footage of me, and I was just like waving like, I was very kind of like, just like, and then I was sitting, and then I was in the ambulance. Yeah, they did all this kind of like interactive stuff, they had like the ambulance, and they had the fire,
we'll talk
the police,
more about, I think we'll talk more about fairs and carnivals in a Patreon
But my
podcast,
uncle up in
possibly.
Ullapool was a auxiliary fireman,
Yeah.
So I remember when I'd go and stay up there, my cousin would, we'd go around there, and I got to like see the fire engines and stuff, but I didn't get to go out in them or anything, or... That was, that was about the end, but we never had a school trip there because I think I would have just loved that. I don't remember it anyway. If it happened,
every kid I've ever known,
every
kid I've ever known, my niece and nephew now still, they had field trips to the fire station.
Yeah, I was very jealous of that because I want to go to the fire station.
That's like a very common one. I think. Let us know if you guys had a field trip to the fire station when you were in school. But another one was just like a day at the park. You just go
to the park.
Take a trip to the park kind of during the school day.
Teddy bear's picnic.
I also had a really weird one, and this is the one that I thought of while you were talking for some reason. And I can't remember the specifics of it, but the town that I lived in did have sort of an interesting history and a couple of interesting things that happened, when there was a lot of people that lived there at the time.
Yeah.
That it became a town. Not so many by the time I was little. But, and I remember this weird walking tour that we did one day. It was like a walking tour field trip where we walked around sort of the downtown of my town, and the teachers like pointed out, oh, and this is where this event happened, and and there was like a weird story. We walked by some house, and some judge or something got killed because somebody was waiting behind their bushes when they got home, and and they told us the whole story and everything, and it was just like, it was very fascinating, obviously, because you're a kid and it's a story about murder, and this is where it happened, you know. This
is the murder.
But thinking back on it, it's just like, I guess that's an interesting way to teach your town's history.
It's like where the murders happened. This is where.
But I mean, I moved to Austin when I was like 11, so that seems like I must have been relatively young.
Yeah.
To be learning about this grisly murder, and it's
like me in the Wool Museum freaking out because I thought I was going to be chucked underneath a wool and chopped to bits or whatever it was.
Yeah.
It was very graphic. He described it very graphically.
It's like, how can we?
It's like, and his kids, they were always getting chopped up in there.
How can we traumatize a bunch of children today? But yeah, then when we moved here, the field trips got endlessly more exciting, because Austin is the capital of Texas, so obviously we had a field trip to the state capitol.
Yeah.
We had a field trip to the park, but the park here is much bigger than the main park in the town where I live. And they have a little train that goes around the park, and
little train,
a creek it's not a creek, it's Barton Springs, which is a natural swimming pool in Austin. So that was fun. I took an art history class when I was in high school, and so we took a field trip with that class. We had a day field trip to Houston, and we went to the art museum in Houston. Oh, yeah. Yeah, so that was fun, because that was maybe the first time I had ever been to Houston. Yeah. What else? There's like a sculpture gardens here. I can remember we took a field trip there one day, like another arty kind of thing, and we brought a picnic lunch, and so we had picnic in the gardens, and that was like a little picnic. The botanical gardens, I think we went to. Just kind of all the places that I've taken you, we had a school field trip to at some point. When I lived here. Yeah. I was in this group in high school called the Future Business Leaders of America. Yeah, I mean, we didn't have all that My best friend talked me into being in this group.
Future Business Leaders of America.
Yeah, that's really worked out
That's where you're going to do your spy business, isn't
it? And with that, we took like a overnight trip to Dallas, because I think we had some kind of conference, or we had something, I don't know. And we went to Dallas, and we went to Six Flags. So that was...
Six Flags!
Yeah, so that was...
Which is like a theme park.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. For our non-American listeners. Yeah, Six Flags is a theme park. Like, I don't know, you haven't been to Six Flags, have you?
No.
It's like Warner Brothers themed. So, at Disneyland.
Oh, it's like got characters and stuff? Yeah. Like Looney Tunes or whatever? Yeah.
Bugs Bunny and
Porky
Daffy
Pig
Duck
and
all of them. They'll be like wandering around the park, and I think they have the big that's all folks kind of thing.
That's all folks.
Yeah. That's like at the exit. Yeah. I can remember that because everybody stops and takes their picture there. Yes. God,
I bought you that on DVD, didn't I? What's that? Looney Tunes. 50 years of Looney Tunes. Yes. And I don't know where it's gone.
Oh my God. Yes, let's have this conversation now.
Yes. It's what they want to hear.
You guys, I swear, I try to rein him in for these podcasts, but it's just like endlessly off topic.
A field trip to the Looney Tunes.
I don't know. I mean, you had a lot more information, and if you guys are interested in checking out any of the places Dominic's mentioned,
yeah, there's the Barbican Model Village, Kent's Cavern. bygones.
We have a cavern around here, but I don't think I have been there, but I don't think I ever went there with school. Funnily enough, that seems definitely like the type of thing that we would have done with school. But yeah, I mean,
is it prehistoric though?
School was so long ago; it's very difficult.
Well, the school, yeah. I mean, as I said, I remember going to these places outside of school, and like my secondary school life wasn't. I mean, we went on like field trips, but it was like geography ones.
Yeah.
And it would just be like to the local park to like, sample of the water, sample of the soil. Yeah. Let's do that,
Yeah.
How many trees with this can you find,
Yeah.
What's an oxbow lake,
Yeah, we did that. Oh, we went to, what is that? We went to a park too. Not the Zilker Park, which I've already mentioned. We went to I think it's a state park, McKinney Falls.
Oh.
And it's like, but it was that kind of a trip too, like, it's kind of sciencey
type. Geography type.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Geology.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
Well, geology. I mean, I think it was a geography trip we did.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, because I mean rivers and. But yeah, I don't know why we were collecting samples. Maybe that was a science trip we went on.
Yeah.
I'm just melding the two together,
You guys, not to cut this short, but we have to tell you guys a story that happened to us this weekend.
Oh.
sorry for the abrupt ending there, but yeah, that's about all the field trips I can remember.
That's all the field trips. That's all, folks.
If you have any questions about any of the ones that I mentioned, you can always DM and I'll go into a bit more depth as to what I was talking about.
Going on?
But if you follow us on Instagram, I don't know, did you post it on Twitter also?
No, I didn't actually.
I don't know why I'm laughing because it's not actually
it's a serious situation.
It kind of is.
It kind of is. Yeah, I suppose so.
So we went outside on Saturday, was it? And we were going somewhere. I don't know.
Yeah,
and we
Sunday.
And we were leaving, and there's a freaking rattlesnake in front of our garage door, you guys.
Yeah.
Like a pretty big one. I don't know, what, 1.5, 2 feet long? Something like that?
Something like that. Yeah, it was, I mean, he was kind of stretched out and he was against
Sunday. Yeah.
He was against the door.
Yeah.
Because you were just like, oh, no. And he went, and I was like, what? And then I looked and I saw him and I was like, oh, yeah, he's pretty big, isn't he? He was quite long. And then he just turned his head to look at us.
Yes, we were talking. We were like,
oh, what do we do? How do we shoo him away,
Yeah, we didn't get close enough to actually realize that it was a rattlesnake at the time. But Dominic snapped a picture and a quick little video to put on Instagram. But as we were talking, oh yeah, look at it, whatever, he turned his head and he's like looking at us.
He was looking at us, his little forked tongue was just going, tasting the air or whatever to see what we were doing.
Yeah, I mean, we didn't know what kind of snake it was.
And the sun was like really beating down, so we couldn't really see. I got some footage of him, and
yeah, if you follow us on Instagram, you've seen the video. But I was just like, okay, he's looking at us. We're not that close, but we're probably close enough that if he wants to like charge at us,
really.
I don't know if we can. I don't know if we'll have time to like get away.
He was. Yeah, I mean, yeah, you were quite back, and I was just like filming and stuff.
So he kind of slithered off,
and then he kind of just was like, it looked like he was kind of lazy.
Yeah,
he was just like he was chilling out.
He had just eaten.
He just eaten because I looked at his belly and it looked like he had something
full.
full. So what? He may have caught a rat or or a toad.
Yeah.
Or something, because we live near a creek, so there's all kinds of things for him to eat.
Yeah.
And so, he just slithered off, like, he was just like, okay, I'm moving on. And, he got around to, like, the neighbor's garage, and then he just slithered off, and it was just like, yeah, I don't know where he's going.
Yeah, we didn't see where he went, so, I mean, we didn't find him then. Their car was kind of pulled all the way up to the garage, and so we lost him once he went under their car. I don't know if he went up into their car or what. They weren't home, so we couldn't go tell them. at the time. So we left and we came back and we didn't find him. The neighbors came home. We told them. We looked at the actually we looked at the picture first and we were like, oh my God, I think that is a rattle on the end of his tail. Like,
yeah, I mean, it was very small.
Code red.
I mean, it could a Western Diamondback. We
Googled it and we think it was a Western Diamondback. Rattlesnake.
But he's out of the area now. I mean, it's raining now, so he's moved on.
We're hoping he's not in our garage.
No, I don't think he's in our garage. I mean, there's nothing in there for him. Really.
We had these kind of like little cracks down at the bottom, and we just got some foil and we shoved it in there. Like, oh no, you're not going in there.
No, you don't, rattlesnake. No, you don't.
We told our neighbors. They looked in their garage. Yeah. They looked under the car. They looked all along the side of their house and everything.
It is the time of the snake.
But yeah, so that was our bit of excitement from this weekend.
Yeah.
That was your first rattlesnake.
That was my first rattlesnake.
I think that was my first rattlesnake.
And he was very calm.
Yeah, he was calm. We
weren't annoying him.
He was like, yeah.
I'm moving. I'm walking here, you know.
Oh my gosh. But yeah, I mean, you don't ideally, you know, I am not, a lot of people replied to the Instagram video, kill it. Why don't you kill it? You should kill it. I'm not someone who, I understand that they're poisonous and, you know,
you were going to kill it.
If bitten, we can potentially die ourselves.
Yeah, well, yeah, it's venomous. Yeah, so.
But I'm not someone who likes to kill things, and I was not going to get close enough to kill it in the first place.
The big snake wrangler over here.
So it's just like, you know, what do you do? I called 311. They were like, animal control doesn't do snakes. That's literally what he said. We don't
do snakes.
He goes, oh, animal control doesn't do snakes. You'll have to call a pest control. Well, it's just like, am I going to call a pest control? Because I don't know where it is at this point, you know.
And I mean, pest control, you know, it's like we've got hundreds of snakes down by the creek, you know.
We live right on a green
We
belt.
live by the snakes.
Right.
And the toads.
Yeah, it's like this is where they live, you know. You don't really want to share your property with one because it's a little bit like, yeah, I don't want to get into my garage and, you know, move a box and there's a snake there.
There's a snake there, yeah.
Or like I'm mowing the yard and there's a snake there, you know? It's like,
we just mowed as well. So.
Not a rattlesnake anyway. Like grass snake's fine, you know?
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, ideally we definitely would like to have him relocated, but we don't know where he is at the moment.
Well, I mean, he moved off in the general direction of the road.
The rattlesnake is still at large.
He's still at large.
That's the end of this
He's
story.
He's wanted dead or alive.
Oh my gosh, have you guys ever had any experiences with rattlesnakes coming, or like any kind of venomous or poisonous snake coming onto your property? I know I've seen stories where they're like, they come up through the toilet. People have found them in their toilet. They find some way manage to come under doors or things like that, you know, and they end up in people's houses. And this guy was not in our house.
No, he wasn't. He was outside.
Outside where he lives, you know. He wasn't bothering me. So I don't know.
He wasn't in our toilet.
I hope to not see him again, though.
Yes.
Yeah.
We saw him once. That was enough.
I hope he had his little.
Goodbye.
I hope he had his little.
He had his little hat on
his stick. And he was just like...
He had his little polka dot handkerchief tied to his stick. Yeah. And he had his little hat on. And he was just travelling through.
Yes. You know? Just passing through.
So cutely.
Oh my gosh. Anyway, hope you enjoyed this episode. I know it was a bit haphazard. But
haphazard, field trips, you know.
A lot of our podcasts are. I mean, I think you guys have come to expect that at this point. Anyway, thank you as always for tuning in. We really appreciate your support, and we will talk to you next time. As I mentioned before, I think we're going to do, we have a Patreon podcast coming out this week, and I think we kind of just decided that we're going to make that about like carnivals and fairs and see if those differ between our countries. I think that's another topic we haven't ever talked about.
We're going to talk about fairs and carnivals.
Yeah. So if you're not a Patreon, or if you're not a patron, rather, and you are interested...
patron.
Yeah. And you're interested in becoming a patron, you might visit our Patreon page and go check that out. But otherwise, just thanks for listening. Thanks for sharing our podcast with your friends. Thanks for following us on social media.
Yes. T-Butty everywhere.
Yeah. And we will talk to you next time.
Bye.
Bye.